Well, good morning and thank you for joining CSL Parker. I extend my warm welcome to our member community and to our global family. I'm Dr. Nadine Rogers, and I'm deeply grateful to be able to share the principles of living a spiritual life with you. And this month, we begin a new theme, which is Wealth Everywhere, where we advocate for the infinite potential of spiritual truth within all people to create and live abundant lives. So I'm going to begin, as we do each week, with lighting the unity candle. And we do this knowing that light symbolizes the transformational power of spirit that lives within each one of us equally, uniting us all in this truth and in the courage to accept our capacity to expand our consciousness of acceptance and receive our divine inheritance. You know, here at CSL Parker, we practice spirituality every day. And we base this on the teachings of the Science of Mind and Spirit by its author, Dr. Ernest Holmes. He shares with us that his teaching is the correlations of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of world religions applied to human needs and the aspirations of man. And so how that is relevant to us is that we live in a spiritual universe, and we are indeed spiritual beings having a human experience, and that everything we think we may lack or need only and ever is available right within us, right where we are. You know, being an all-inclusive community and teaching, we honor all mindful paths to the one, and are learning together how to celebrate and honor diversity, as well as rejoice and become stronger in the things that unite us. We learn to be a student with humility and awe in this vast power for good within us and within the world. And we come to understand as we walk each other home that we teach by how we live, and that how we live becomes our prayer. So we know that you are blessed right here and right now. And so we ask you just to sit back and relax and enjoy our time of music and meditation.
Good morning. As we begin this meditation, close your eyes and find your own comfortable position. Let your body relax into this moment, knowing that this is a special time for communicating with your higher self. Feel the presence of the divine within you, lifting you up and into the light of love. I invite you now to go softly into this space of love and just be. Be in this moment with Spirit. We live in abundance, an abundance of great love within our spiritual community, an abundance of truth in our lives, an abundance of joy and gratitude for being able to live in this beautiful state of Colorado and this strong and resilient country, both that we call home. I invite you to take a moment now to consider something or someone that you are grateful for today in your life. Breathe in that gratitude that you are feeling right now. Breathe in the gratitude. I am grateful for. I give thanks for. My life is abundant with. Abundance flows over and over into my life, in my relationships, in my relationship with my spiritual self. And now, let's move slowly back into the present moment and prepare to receive our message this morning. Namaste.
Well, good morning, everyone, once again. I'm very excited about the month of November. We start a new theme called Wealth Everywhere. Everywhere. And this is going to be a very powerful exploration on how to draw abundance into every aspect of our lives through gratitude, giving, and receiving. I really believe that within each one of us is that inner urge to live life to its fullest. And I don't think fullness is found through the accumulation of things, although they're nice, they're perks, but rather in the will to align with the energy of universal abundance and share that abundance with others. I think if we're willing to listen to that inner source and translate that knowing through vision, intention, and action, we will reap unimaginable benefits and will help to shape the unlimited bounty for all. The root of abundance for me begins with this idea of a win-win attitude. So I want to talk today about that win-win attitude through the idea of an acronym for the word wealth. WEALTH, wealth. So my acronym is this: wisdom, enthusiasm, acceptance, letting go, trust, and harmony. I believe, certainly through my own experience and demonstration, these to be very foundational pieces in the manifestation of an abundant life experience, along with three universal spiritual laws: the law of reciprocity, the law of giving and receiving, and the law of sacrifice. We don't always like that word, do we? You know, you might have heard the saying that God, or any synonym thereof, such as love or peace or joy, is found by subtraction, not addition. God is found by subtraction, not addition. And we come to know wealth everywhere when we begin to see with the eyes of God the love and the joy and the peace. But often we're distracted by the importance of Maya. Now, Maya in Hinduism means the illusion of the material world. So I'd like to start today with a story about a Hindu sage named Narada Muni, who is taught the power of Maya by his Lord Krishna as they walk through the desert. So the story starts by Narada asking, "O greatest Lord," he says, "what is the secret of this life and the appearance of this world?" And Krishna smiles. He doesn't give any reply, and he just continues walking with Narada. Eventually he says, "Child, the sun is hot today and I am thirsty. Ahead of you, you will find a village, so please go there and fetch me a cup of water." So Narada obliges, and the first house he comes to, the door opens, and there's a woman who stands there, looking deeply into his eyes. And as Narada experiences this woman, he forgets Krishna's command and the reason for his mission. He marries the woman. He settles down. He creates children, and he lives contentedly for many years until one day, in monsoon season, the waves come in and break out over the village. So he quickly gathers his family and heads for higher ground, but unfortunately to no avail. The wind grabs one of his sons and makes him let go of his daughter who is in his arms, and he watches his wife wash away. He himself is starting to be washed away on the beach, and he's feeling at that moment almost mad with sorrow and abandonment, and that there's nothing left to live for. He feels that death is in the air, and all he can do is weep. Suddenly the voice from Krishna appears and says, "Child, child, where is my cup of water?" He throws himself at Lord Krishna's feet and begs for forgiveness. He said, "Oh, I forgot. I forgot what you asked me." Krishna turns to him and says, Now do you understand the secret behind your life and the appearance of the world?" The story of Narada, I think, tells the greatest story. It's the story of a return to the reality that is always with us, to remember that we are always provided for. Narada begs Krishna to explain the mystery of existence, and Krishna complies not with words, but with a demonstration. The same demonstration that we all have as we live in this very moment and through the moments of our life, and that we're living very much in this world right now. The flashing of the woman's eyes that makes Narada forget his spiritual mission are a symbol of Maya. The interplay of time, space, and illusion that causes even the greatest sages to fall asleep in the comfortableness of the household of their world. In other words, what they're familiar with. Yet, ironically, the whole time Narada and we are immersed in the cosmic dream, the whole time we are growing up and marrying and bearing children and suffering the fortunes and pleasures of life, in reality, we too are alone, with God, the God of our understanding, at our side in that endless desert of infinity that stretches out in all directions. One of the 10 core concepts of religious science and one of the organizing principles of the universe is abundance. All that everyone will ever need or desire is already provided for by this universal abundance. Now, this applies to everybody, not just some people. Every person is heir to the riches of creation without regard to merit. So for us to move our mind from the seduction of illusion to the power of reality, I'd like to now review the first 3 spiritual laws that I shared with you today earlier. And that those laws in my life have actually created a bridge for me to actually cross over from the Maya into the absolute reality, to lean into that power of infinite creative intelligence. I could also say that they create a bridge over troubled waters, or yes, they may create a bridge to still waters that run deep, so we can ask those deeper questions of ourselves and begin to realize what are those obstacles that are holding us back from a willingness to step into a greater idea of conscious acceptance and receptivity. So the first of these laws is the mother lode, to me. It's called the law of reciprocity. And this is because we live in a reciprocal universe. This is not a law of man, it's a universal law. And it's brought about because the universe operates through the universal creative process, moving the invisible to the visible form through a reciprocal responsiveness. So the law of reciprocity states that for every visible form there is an invisible counterpart. That's our thought. This means that what we receive corresponds to what we imagine and believe we can receive. And whatever we have got in our lives is the fruit of our mental labor. So in order to work with the law of reciprocity effectively, we must consider 2 other laws, one being the law of sacrifice. So that means giving up something of value for something of greater value. Now, I know it's hard enough to give up something that we're familiar with, that we're comfortable with, such as a career, a relationship, maybe a pay grade, and create something better, let alone give up something of value that really is supporting our well-being, that we love, for something of greater value. And I'm going to share a present story with you right now. I am working diligently with the law of sacrifice as I speak to you today. So here it is. I live in a beautiful home. It's got a spectacular view. It's illuminated with light, and it's blocks from the lakefront beach. It's affordable. I am really comfortable. Life is fairly simple for me. And I'm not ready to leave this place. I don't feel I am done with it. But as it turns out, it is done with me. The universe is saying move on, even though I'm trying very quickly to catch up, not just mentally, but mostly emotionally. So here's what happened. Last week, 2 weeks ago, my partner and I, whom I have not lived with for several years, saw the beachfront property that we've now put an offer in, which has been accepted, and we jumped on it. It's going to be our forever home. We're going to finally get to live together again. What am I giving up? I don't know, maybe independence, freedom, those things that, are so dear to our hearts. The things that sometimes don't bring us closer to people, but actually keep us farther away. But what I'm moving into is a higher living budget, because we're going to have a mortgage on this property. I have to release possessions. The listing of my home went up yesterday, and I already have an offer coming in today. Life, the universe is moving so fast. I'm like trying to breathe, which is very interesting because I have experienced asthma for over 50 years. Interesting, isn't it? I know you're relating yourself to my story on some level. So, the worry was, well, our house is selling time. This was yesterday. In order for us to ante up the funds for closing, and not put a restraint on my partner who is retired or me who is a self-employed saging woman, but we're giving up something of value for something of much greater value. This place we're moving into is illumined with light. It has remarkable beauty in its landscaping and in its home. It's a new place and newly renovated, and it's right on the beach in a private corner property. What we're moving into would stun even Lord Krishna, let alone Narada, right? So then there's the law of giving and receiving. Everything in nature moves in circles. This is what Dr. Holmes tells us. So what goes out must come back, and unless the seed is sown, it cannot bear the fruit. So that's our job. What is the seed? And let's plant the seed. There must be a planting time for every harvest. This is the hard part. We plant the seed, we nourish it, we try not to get distracted by the illusion of the world and Maya, and we do what's difficult for most. We wait. Patience is a virtue. I've heard it all my life, and I am sure personally that that's why my soul came to this planet at this time, was to learn patience. Yeah. Holmes also says that he who gives all receives all. He who refuses to give limits the possibility of the greater good returning to him. See, so in the law of giving and receiving, you see that law of reciprocity acting again. Now there are challenges that happen with these three laws. I'm going to speak of two, and they're really the opposite sides of the same coin or the same principle. The first is godliness is a vow of minimalism and poverty. So you can't be rich in God, wealth in spirit, and also materially wealthy. That is thinking dualistically. Of course you can. We were born. It is to be rich. It is our divine inheritance. And yes, we can have it all if we can believe that we can and accept it, right? And the second side of that principle is we are born to be rich. So they seem like two opposite sides of the same principle. God, and the principle is God is all there is, everywhere present, and is, in its presence, an infinite supply of abundance from which, as which we live, move, and have our being. In actual fact, lack and limitation are aberrations to living in an opulent universe. I think anyone who's experiencing lack, and I know this from my own life, is in some way living in opposition to that universal flow. So whether we believe poverty or wealth to be a virtue, the root of abundance lies in our belief of either being fully supplied at all times, which unlocks our greater good through gratitude and the sharing of what we have, or our belief in not enough, and therefore us needing to get our share. And this belief, whichever way we swing, will also determine whether we move in life with a capacity to give unconditionally and receive unconditionally. You know, Jesus said, "In the world you have tribulations, but I have overcome the world." Now, it appears that he was saying that he had achieved access to heaven, which gave him divine dispensation on earth. I don't think that's so. I think Jesus was, with those words or that idea, implying that we live in two realms, not in succession but concurrently. In other words, we live in a world of tribulations where we experience health and sickness, abundance and lack, joy and sadness, but at the same time, we live also in a universe, that universal realm of the constancy and stability of basic substance that stands beneath every human experience. Thus, it can be said that there is an allness within everything, within every illness, an all-sufficiency within every appearance of lack, and the joy of spirit within every moment of sorrow. This is when our perception of paradox or dualism comes into the one, because God is the allness. God is everything. God isn't just good and wealth and prosperity. God is right in the poverty and the experience of lack, right? So when Jesus said, "I have overcome the world," he meant he kept himself centered in the inner realm of wholeness or allness. So this centering process in mind and spirit is key to achieving wealth or a prosperous life. Now, I had begun today talking about wealth as an acronym: wisdom, enthusiasm, acceptance, letting go, harmony, not necessarily in those orders, in that order, because they'll all fall differently as we move through the process of awakening, you know, from the cosmic dream, or taking our focus away from the illusions of the world and identifying with them, which means we've given them power over our transcendent and expanding consciousness. So let's speak about them for just a sec. The letter W in wealth stands for wisdom. In religious science, we're invited to look at the idea that we do not need God's favor any more than we need man's favor. For all of God's favor you and I need, we already have. God is the creative principle of this universe, producing a divine natural order of life, and its nature is an infinite, all-embracing love. The nature of God is such that what God is not already doing, God cannot do and could not be induced to do. So no one prays to God, right, for the sun to rise in the morning or to set at night. No one prays to God to arrange the incoming and outgoing tides, or to have roses come from roses, or to change the laws of automotive engineering or airplane dynamics, right? No one does that. So, you know, in short, we seem willing to let God to run the universe in its natural order until our own little selves become involved. This idea, prompted by the ego's, "I don't have enough, I am not enough, there isn't enough, I'm lacking something, my life is lacking something, the world is going to hell in a handbasket," like my mom used to say, right? We turn away by these illusions of lack rather than opulent abundance and infinite potential, right? So at this point, many of us revert back to the idea that God is judgmental and withholding, and there is just another way we need to be to get the more in this universe that is laid at someone else's feet, but not ours, right? So we need the wisdom to remember what is true. The letter A in wealth stands for acceptance. And I don't think any of us choose this spiritual path, although we may think we do, because I don't think we have any such power as human beings. This is a call. This is a call to move into that spiritual realm of thinking and living, right? And we're called from that greater spiritual idea, that source that lives within us. Now, some resist or reject this way of life because the spiritual life will not really enhance our material sense of good. It rather enhances our idea of living in a world that is full of spiritual good. And if we're completely identified with the materialness of what we have and our image and our ego, it's very hard to make that switch, right? Yeah. So, but the straight good is that those people and each of us who expect to increase our material wealth through spiritual means have many, many lessons awaiting us. The first of which is that material wealth will increase only in proportion to dropping our aim to get something. Even the desire, listen to this one, even the desire for God realization. It is true that all good will reveal itself on the material plane and in the body of our affairs, but that should never be the goal. The next one is letting go. And unless we understand that God is one infinite good and see ourselves as loved ones as such, then we think and act like we're owed something, that there is something more to get, that life is here to serve us, rather than we are here to serve the grandness and the greatness of life in gratitude and thanksgiving. Right? God has only the gift of itself to give. And in that gift, all needs are already met. So any other kind of God is really man-made. It's a myth. So, the pagans would create gods for individual things, like gods for floods or storms or rain. They have gods for foods. But this is making the infinite after our own finite image. Just like how today we tend to make others in our lives reflect the image we have of ourselves, instead of seeing the whole truth within them. Acceptance. The next is trust. Trusting the universe to provide, trusting that everything has already been provided in the spiritual realm, and that it will come to us in a natural, logical, sequential flow of this impersonal, creative, universal law that moves everything visible or invisible into the visible form for our experience. Then there's harmony, to feel a sense of union with persons and with the God of our understanding. And we have to always go back and work out whatever is standing between us and that God of our understanding. So we have to do spiritual practice to make contact with the spirit within and find our own completeness within that. Right? The last I love, and I know these are out of order, but it's enthusiasm. It's my favorite. It comes from the root entheos. In God, which means in God, right? Entheos, in God. And I think enthusiasm is an energy that clears obstacles in that moment. That power that resides in the moment of now comes into our experience. It clears the obstacles in that moment, and it attracts opportunity of support and resources. And I think enthusiasm is infectious. It spreads inspiration, and it leverages faith and hope in people. So we're taught in religious science that this universal creative process, or the happens through the three aspects of God, or the Trinity of being. In some religions, it's called God, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. In our metaphysical terminology and teaching, it's called spirit and soul and body. But we can look at these three aspects of God, or the principle of being, also as God, the transcendent creator and sustainer, or God, the creative energy and action, which is the law of the universal creative process moving. And then God, the third aspect, God, the creation itself. It's really important as we're opening up to what is ours to do in this role of knowing that wealth exists everywhere by living as if and demonstrating in our life first, that we remember that God is everywhere present all the time. And that really these three aspects are literally three fields of energy intelligence, right? Everything in spirit vibrates as energy intelligence. And the entire universe is alive because the energy intelligence of God is in all aspects of the universe. It's in the minerals, the plants, the animals, and self-conscious humans, right? And in the cosmic conscious spiritual beingness, right? So why then do we experience poverty of finance and health, of love, happiness, right work and career? Because the energy of our conscious thoughts are vibrating at the energy intelligence field of creation, the condition, the problem, the lack, rather than the energy, the vibrational energy of those highest qualities and aspects of God, right? Did you know that the only bird that dares to peck at an eagle is the crow? Right? The story goes that the crow sits on the eagle's back and bites its neck. Now the eagle doesn't respond, nor fights the crow. It does not spend any time or energy on the crow, but instead it just opens up its wings and begins to rise higher into the heavens. The higher the flight, the harder it is for the crow to breathe, and eventually the crow falls off due to lack of oxygen. Great story. We are the eagle. We are those that soar. We are born as self-conscious individuals to do so, not to sit and peck in life on the ground. Right? Yeah. If we understood the nature of God, which is the inherent creative principle within us, we would never pray or ask for a thing. There's a parable that expounds the wisdom of Lao Tzu, which encapsulates this law of reciprocity. I'm going to finish with this. I think it's quite profound. One sea is fresh, fish live in it. Trees and bushes grow near it, and children splash and play in it. The river Jordan flows into the sea with sparkling waters from the hills. People build their homes on it. Every kind of life is happier because it is there. Now the same river Jordan flows south into another sea. Here there are no fish, no green things, no children playing, and no homes. Stale air hangs above its waters, and neither man nor beast will drink of it. So what makes the difference between these neighborhood seas? Not the Jordan River. It empties the same good water into both. Nor is it the soil or the countryside. The difference is that the Sea of Galilee receives water but does not keep it. For every drop that flows in, another drop flows out. The giving and the receiving go on equal measure. The other sea hoards its income. Every drop it gets, it keeps. The Sea of Galilee lives and lives. The other sea gives nothing, and it is called the Dead Sea. There are said to be these same two people in our world, those Dead Sea people who take without giving back, and the givers who remain fresh and vibrant by freely sharing of themselves in their faith and willingness to demonstrate their faith and live into the mystery of that greater good. It's never for lack of abundance that we experience want, but for lack of the awareness of the ever-present reality of divine substance and the faith to shape it into manifest form. Breathe in with me this air. Take a big, full breath. And as you breathe in and take in all the air you need, are you depriving anyone else from taking in all the air they need? Of course not. Each of us in this room and on this Zoom room here are really the highest creation of all, and we are the mountaintops from which earth below was fed and nourished with fresh waters. Wealth is written into our presence. So it's not for us to be concerned with whom responds to that spiritual impulse, but to be lifted so in consciousness that all those who come to us with an open consciousness may partake in the bread and receive it. The next step in this journey of creating abundance living and prosperous living as we move through this month in November is not up to God. It is up to you and it is up to me. And we have just taken that step. And so it is. Blessings on your journey.
Good morning. I have some announcements for you today. Dr. Vern's class, Love Without Conditions, is filling up fast, but there are a few spots left open for the Thursday morning class. That will start Thursday, November 12th. Class runs 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Visit the website or check your email blast for more information and how to sign up. This is a very short book, about 160 pages, but it is crammed with great information, and I know we'll have some great discussions in class. Our next happiness hour will take place this Wednesday, November 4th, from 7 to 8 p.m. I think the topic might be grief, grace, and gratitude, but you never know where these discussions will go. It's always nice to connect with fellow like thinkers in this intimate environment. And on a note of fun, our band leader Alicia is hosting a living room concert on November 19th. Details are available on the website. The concert is free, however, love donations are always appreciated and will go directly to Alicia.
So now I invite you into a personal investment that I like to call sacred and faithful giving. Knowing that there is an infinite flow of prosperity and abundance that is operating in, through, and as us at all times, no matter our present circumstances. In this we can open our consciousness of acceptance by giving with a grateful heart. And you know, when our souls are fed by the practice of giving, we can be certain that our gift will bless both the giver and the receiver many times over. So for your convenience, we provide you with various ways in which to make your donation. You can click on the box at the top of the screen. You can donate on our website or via Zelle. Or if you are more inclined and are more comfortable, you can simply mail a check into our office location. This is our new address. We receive and appreciate your tithes and your gifts. You know, we thank you so much for supporting us in remaining a vital and vibrant and thriving center in which you can find your spiritual nourishment. So I invite you now to affirm your prosperity through the power of your own word by saying this with me. I attract all good things into being. The power of my faith enhances my experience of health, relationship, finance, fulfillment, passion, purpose, and joy. The creative source in my life is in a constant state of perfection, freely giving itself as my bounty. And so it is. And now, our offering song.
There are at least 100 There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. Do it again. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. At least 100 ways for me to receive countless blessings, and so I believe. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. My good is coming to me. My good is coming to me.
And now for our benediction. Will you join me in prayer? We've been blessed by your presence here today, and by the presence of all those who have come from far and wide to join us this morning to remember that Spirit is who they are. All is well here. And we know that the source of all the creative mind and spirit is moving within the life of me, of you, of all humanity in divine right action and divine right timing. It gives of itself fully and freely, guiding, guarding, and directing our lives, and allowing us and calling forward in us that opportunity to expand our loving expression, no matter the conditions that we perceive in life. We give thanks for living in such an abundant universe. We give thanks that there's enough for all, and that we are enough just the way we are. We give thanks that the universe is receptive, that is affirmatively responsive, and that it is our nature and our divine inheritance to live abundantly and live an abundant life. We affirm our capacity to demonstrate our faith through the giving of our time, through the giving of our talents and our treasures without measure. We never miss an opportunity to affirm that the infinite source of supply lives right within us, right where we are, and that we have full access to it. There is a power for good in this universe, and we can choose to use it. Life is a blessing, and so are we, and so it is. Amen.
To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is a thing thinking that the heart can still be saved, and the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see, a world that's full of endless possibility, and heroes don't look like they used to, they look like you do. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace,